Confused about how to plan for your retirement? Shawn Maloney is here to help. Shawn has created the Retire Happy framework that considers more than just how much you should save. Getting information and tools to preserve your financial future is minutes away. Welcome to the Priority of Retirement with your host, Shawn Maloney.
Welcome to another episode of the Priority of Retirement, where we delve into all the aspects of retirement planning for a happy retirement. I'm your host, Shawn Maloney, and today we truly have an inspiring guest who has made a significant impact in the financial advisory industry. Rob Brown is the founder of the Truest Fan Coaching and the author of the book, Truest Fan, Live, Love, and Lead with Purpose and Impact. Rob's journey from a top financial advisor to industry executive who mentored hundreds of advisors highlights his exceptional leadership skills. Now, as a coach to some of the industry top advisor, Rob brings his wealth of knowledge and experience to help others succeed. He also hosts his own podcast, the Purpose Focused Advisor Podcast, where he shares valuable insights and practical strategies. On a personal note, Rob is a devoted husband and father of triplets. That's crazy. And join us as we dive into Rob's book, Coaching Philosophies and the Importance of Working with a Financial Advisor. Rob, welcome to the show.
Hey, Shawn, great to be with you. Quite an introduction. Makes me tired just getting started.
Well, we'll keep it more casual after that. How about that?
Perfect.
All right. Well, I got to lead off with, before we dive in, triplets. How old are you triplets?
My daughters are 34. So
wow.
I've had them around for a while. It's 112 years of parenting.
You just like to accelerate things, get it all done, put it out there.
Yeah. No, one of the greatest blessings of my life. No doubt about it.
Oh, I am sure. I mean, we have 3 kids, but I can't imagine all 3 at the same time. So right. That is fantastic.
Well, my license plate says 3 at once. So
there you go. I love it. I love it. Well, let's go ahead and dive in. Tell me a little bit about what inspired you to transition from being a financial advisor to being a mentor to advisors.
Right. So I loved being a financial advisor. I was fortunate when I was in my very last month of college, I got to do an internship with what was then Payne Weber, which introduced me to the financial world. And I said, I want to be a financial advisor.
Right.
And I became one. It took a little while, but I became one a couple of years later. And as I was building my business, working with clients, enjoying getting to know them, building a team, one of the things that happened a lot to me is other advisors would come to me and say, "Hey, Rob, how did you do this?"
Right.
And I became a friendly mentor. And as luck and God would have it, as time went along, those opportunities became closer and closer together.
Right.
To at a point, I became the chief operating officer of a firm that had 250 other advisors. And so I had a built-in audience of advisors to mentor. And the more I did that, the more I realized that I needed to turn my full focus to the mentoring and the coaching. And that's how I've ended up where I am today.
That's fantastic. And, while it's a large industry, it's a pretty tight knit group as well. I mean, and sure, we all are out there and there's competition, but there's a lot of great sharing that happens in our industry as well. I know the reason I got into things was to help people out, and especially focus on retirement planning and get them to the right plan that's right for them, because it's not a one size fits all. And the reason we love having Rob on the show today is because, as you're searching for an advisor, there's a lot of different aspects to think about and to look for in working with an advisor, and why to work with an advisor, right? But before we dive into that a little bit, why don't we share a little bit about your book, the core principles of your book. Tell us a little bit about how that came about and what your book's about.
So my book is a parable. And it's actually the story of a fictitious financial advisor who is having success in his career, but is looking for more. He knows that the work that he's doing is helping out a lot of people, and he's being very successful personally, financially, but he realizes there's more to life than just that financial success. He really wants to be that parent who is home for his kids, a great husband, be able to do things in his community for causes that he cares about. And so I teach through that story 7 principles for living more authentically, intentionally, so that you can be a better leader in business and in life. And it's really a mental image that I have of the uh, the road that a lot of financial advisors go through as they're building their businesses and being stewards for their clients and really wanting the best for their clients. But it's a tough business, and you have to have a lot of tough conversations. And so sometimes you need to take a pause and step back and say, okay, how can I do this better, more authentically, more purposefully, so that my clients get from me what they deserve.
Right. What are some of the top things that you see financial advisors struggling with?
I think the number one thing that I see financial advisors struggling with is time. They are typical for busy entrepreneurs, busy business owners, that they have more to do and not enough time to do it. So they don't stop and take the time to figure out what's really most important for them and for their business, so they can accomplish their most cherished goals. So time, I think, is the biggest struggle. And then maybe the second part of that is finding the right clients to serve. There are more clients out there who need financial advisors than there are financial advisors to take care of them. And
Sure.
just like every financial plan or retirement plan is unique, the plan or the course that a business goes on is unique for that advisor, even to the point of who that advisor can best serve. Just because you're a great advisor doesn't mean you're a great advisor for anybody that you may run into. So I think those are
Sure.
the 2 biggest ones.
No, that makes a lot of sense. And just like when you become friends with somebody, your personalities and the way you do things, your standards, your values, and all those kind of things, you got to be comfortable with who you're working with, and match up. Just like as you're with friends, it's the same kind of thing. And not only do different advisors specialize in different things, but just that connection, right? You get to know these people pretty well. And I know for us being, you get to know your clients very well, and obviously you want your clients to be comfortable with you and make sure they're a great fit, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, what are some of the most effective strategies that you use to help financial advisors achieve success?
Well, I have a framework. I call it the Truest Fan Blueprint, which is a process that I take advisors through. It's very similar to a financial planning process that you might take one of your clients through,
Sure.
where we first really help the advisor understand what their big dreams are, what the purpose is behind what they're doing. And then we have a, a kind of a process where we step back and we say, okay, what does that look like in terms of your next few years? What does that vision look like? What does that mean as we step back to 1 year? What are the goals that you want to accomplish in your business? And then we create what we call Truest Fan action plans, which are 3-month sprints where we help our clients focus on what's most important to them in the near term, so that they know they're on track for what they want to accomplish 1 year, 3 years, 10 years out into the future. So that blueprint is the process that we go through. Again, a process very similar to a financial planning process or a retirement planning process that you might take one of your clients through.
Sure. No, that makes sense. Makes total sense. So, I mean, you've seen a lot, and now you've been in our shoes, and now you're advising advisors, if you will. In your opinion, I know what my answer would be, but what would you say? Why is it? What do you think is critical or crucial for people to work with financial advisors?
Well, most people are working on a set of goals that it's the only time they'll ever work on that set of goals. And very rarely when you're working on something for the first time, especially if you haven't been trained in that topic, do you get it right the first time? And then life throws you curveballs. So even if you feel like, hey, I've got it all mapped out, stuff happens that gets in the way. So it's good to have somebody who is expert at crafting a plan based on the client's specific desires and goals and dreams, maybe helping them tamp some of them down if they're a little unrealistic or they need to be readjusted, but then be there consistently along the way. So when that curveball comes and you have to make a change, you can do it in light of still trying to accomplish what's most important to you.
Yeah, most definitely. And like you said, it's a journey. I mean, you start off, and I'm a firm believer in, starting from a retirement plan. So you're never too young or too old to start, right? I feel everybody deserves a plan. And like I always tell my clients, everybody works hard their whole life and deserves to know where they're at and deserves a good retirement, right? Now it's fantastic when people start earlier and you can stretch it out a little bit. But I also tell people, look, it doesn't really matter, how much money you have or don't have, or how old you are or not old you are. I'm a firm believer in that you need to know where you're at and where you need to go. And I think a lot of people shy away from even reaching out because they don't think that they're in a position where they should have an advisor. Well, I don't have enough, or I'm too young, or those kind of things. Do you experience those kind of things yourself?
Yeah, I hear that all the time. And I think there's a really large population of underserved
Yeah.
people, investors, who either by their choice, by telling themselves that they don't deserve an advisor because they think of an advisor as being Gordon Gekko, now I'm forgetting the
The Wolf of
movie.
Wall Street thing.
Yeah. They think they need Gordon Gekko or somebody like that. But they deserve somebody to help them with
Right.
their goals. And then there are others who just won't accept that advice or that maybe that referral recommendation to work with somebody because they don't want to answer some tough questions. They're maybe
True.
feel a little bit like they're embarrassed. So it's a really difficult place to be. But everybody, and I think this is a term that you use. Everybody deserves to be happy in retirement,
Right.
and everybody can get there if they have a plan and they're willing to work towards accomplishing whatever happiness means to you.
Yeah, that's like we always say. First step is defining what you want to do in retirement, what's your why. That's going to drive your happiness. But you don't know until you look. And people that don't think they have enough to go through a plan. I just think that yes, sometimes it's a tough conversation, right? Sometimes there's embarrassment there. Sometimes it's a tough conversation for an advisor to talk to a client and say, hey, this is where you're at, right? You're not quite where you need to be, but here's some ideas and a plan to get you going, moving in the right direction. And sometimes it's just a simple push in that direction, right? I don't want anybody to ever feel embarrassed or feel like they don't deserve a plan. That's one reason I know for me why I got back into doing this as it is, especially focusing in on retirement. I just felt it was a calling to, serve people that need a hand in that direction. Um, well, so on your podcast, what do you focus in on it's your podcast? Tell me a little bit about that.
So our podcast is our guests are primarily financial advisors who are really doing a good job building good businesses, taking care of their clients, and they're willing to share some of their successes and the things that they're doing in their business, which are with our audience, which again is primarily other financial advisors. Although many of our guests will share their episode with their clients because, and I say this with all humility, I ask great questions, or my partner on the podcast, Phil, and I ask great questions. And sometimes we find that our audience are saying things about the way they're running their businesses and caring for their clients in ways that they've never thought about it before, because sometimes you get so deep and buried in your business that you don't realize that, hey, I've got this great thing that's serving people in a good way, and I'm having a multiplier effect because the work that I'm doing with my clients is impacting their families and their communities and the causes that they care about. So just talking about that purpose, that why behind what they do. Because you just said that a minute ago. You said there's the why and the what and the how, but too often we focus on the what and the how and not the why. And I think when we think about the why, whether we're planning for retirement or planning to build a good business, we're going to get our genuine selves coming out, and then we'll have a better chance of getting what we really want.
Yeah, I mean, it's one, it's a checkpoint, but it's a motivator, right? I mean, whether you're talking about building, like you said, whether you're building a business or building for your retirement, you really think about, why am I doing this? Not that, yes, in retirement planning, and you're planning for your future, you're trying to figure out how to replace your paycheck, but okay, but that's at the core. But long term, yes, we're replacing your paycheck, but you were working in your working years. Now you're not working. We're replacing a paycheck to do something different, right? What is that for? What are we funding? And before we ever dive into the financial side of things, I always love doing that. It's just, let's dream a little bit. Yeah, we're going to cover the needs and stuff, but let's look at the long term and the midterm stuff as well, and see where we can get. And I find it to be motivating for people as well, to really get them to think about that side of it, whether it's retirement or saving for college or a house or vacation, whatever it is. Big proponent of having some motivation and a planning around that for sure. Well, you've had a lot of different things that you've done in your professional responsibilities and your life as a husband and father of triplets and all those kind of things. And I know you've talked about it. You mentioned in your book about the purpose and impact. So how'd you balance all that in your career and putting all that together?
Not always as well as I would have liked to. But I think that one of my strengths is putting first things first, because I truly believe that we can't work on everything all at the same time. And there are a lot of things that we all would like to do, but it's not always in season. So understanding what the important things are for this season in my life, being able to attach my activities to those things that are most important, attach my time to those, and be willing to say no to some things, to other things, just put them off out into the future when it will be the right season for them. I think that was probably, or is probably, the thing that has kept me on track and allowed me to do the things that I have enjoyed doing and building a career that's I've been able to have a positive impact on a lot of people.
That's fantastic. And then, you've worked with a lot of different advisors out there, and I'm sure you've seen a lot of different good things and the bad things and everything in between. If you were talking to our listeners, that are consumers of financial advisors, right? What would your advice be to them as far as, we talked about earlier about finding the right fit, but what should they look for in an advisor?
Well, two things. One, I think the advisor needs to have a system or a process for helping that person get from their point A to their point B. And I'm doing this with my hands because it's I think of the roadmaps that I help my advisor clients build, that they can in turn share with their clients. Say, these are the steps and the processes we'll go through to get started and getting to know each other, to make changes through the years, and to, in the end, creating the plan that allows you to have that success and that happiness. So I think you want somebody who actually can say, I have a process and this is what it looks like. And then the second thing to look for is, in that first meeting or two, if the advisor is doing more talking than you as the potential client of the advisor, be careful, because the advisors should, again, especially initially, should be asking lots of questions, really getting to know you and what you have and what you want and why you want what you want, what successes you've had, what failures you've had. And so if you can have somebody who has a system and asks good questions and listens, that is the foundation, or first couple of steps for a great relationship.
I love that. And you hit it. It's definitely a relationship. You get to know each other. And just like we talked about a minute ago, you got to know if you're talking about someone's why, obviously you got to get to know them to understand that. And I always say, hey, every financial plan or a retirement plan is not a one size fits all. It's very personalized. Yes, there are some core foundations that go into any planning, but they're going to be tweaked and changed and whatnot to fit the needs of that particular person. So I agree with you wholeheartedly there. Should be goal focused, should be very relational and understanding the person. And I tell people as well, if you ever go to someone and they try to put all your assets and everything into one product, just run.
Right. Or they rely too much on software. I mean, we live in a world where technology is great, and we can take that information that we have about people, dump it into a software program, and it can spit out results. But it's not what the computer program says is important. It's how the advisor interprets what comes through that program. And so I was actually being interviewed a couple of weeks ago, and I came up with the term human robo advisor. And so maybe for some of your audience may not know what a robo advisor is, but a robo advisor is basically when you just put your numbers into a computer and artificial intelligence spits out what you should be doing. There's no human interaction.
Right.
But I think right now, and this is probably goes back to that whole idea of having the advisor really get to know you and ask questions, is too many advisors have become human robo advisors. They're just the conduit between the client and the software, but there's no real output. There's no real interpretation. There's no real checking to make sure that you understand the questions and you got the answers right. And so I think that's critical in thinking about that relationship.
I'm glad you said that. It was funny because I was actually going to go there next, is that, the impacts of technology and AI and everything else in the financial world. And there's, the DIYers out there, and it's great I love people that want to learn and build stuff on their own and get stuff going. That's fantastic. But you hit it right on nail on the head there, is that the computer only knows so much. Mathematically, it may make sense, or, but they can't interpret. And as good as AI is getting, it still can't interpret, your hopes and dreams and specific needs to exact solutions. It's a good assist. Use technology for assist all day long, to help out. But you definitely need that human touch to bring it all together and see if that needs analysis is really done properly. I'm glad you said that.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing too about DIYers is DIYers aren't always married or connected to other DIYers.
Sure.
And so even, and I see this more and more as I get older and watch people that I know who have traditionally made their own decisions start moving to working with financial advisors as they get older, because they realize that, hey, maybe I could do this myself, but if something happens to me, my spouse doesn't know everything that's gone into this plan. She doesn't know who to talk to, and that can create real challenges.
No, it's a very good point. And we do see that a lot, and it's a valid point too, whether it's that one spouse knows something and the other spouse doesn't, and one passes away. But also, our cognitive abilities as we get older, your investments and your path to how you're funding your retirement, if your cognitive has declined, right, you're not making the same kind of judgments. But if it's a plan's already put in place and shared, and more than one person knows about it, that protects yourself as well.
Absolutely.
And there's advisors too that, even if you're a DIYer and you're younger and you're putting things together, can look at things and advise whether you do things through them 100% or not. Maybe they're a consultant for a while and become more hands-on later on. There's options. My point is there are people out there, there's options and ways to fit, how you want to do things, with an advisor.
Absolutely.
Well, man, it's been a pleasure having you on. What would be one parting thing that you would want to tell our listeners before we sign off here today?
So I guess what I would encourage your listeners to do is go out and get a copy of Truest Fan. It is not a book just for advisors. It's a book about, as the title implies, leading and loving and living with greater impact. And there are lessons in there for everybody. And my favorite lesson in the book is that smiles and kind words go a long way. And I'm just tired of walking down the street or walking down the halls and not having people look at you and give you a smile and say hi, or forgetting about your friends or your connections because you aren't around them. And I believe that there's some intentionality around that. Yeah. And I teach this little trick in the book. I suggest that everybody start the day with 5 pennies or 5 dimes, well, it doesn't matter, in your left pocket, and make it a goal to get those 5 pennies from your left pocket to your right pocket and back by taking 10 opportunities during the course of every day to just smile at somebody and tell them, hey, it's good to see you. Shoot a friend you haven't talked to in a while, text, say, I was thinking about you. Just wanted to just hope you're having a good day. But I think if in this world we stop and take more time to make more people happy, you just never know how that helps somebody and picks them up. That little smile, those few kind words can make a huge difference. And that's lesson number 4 in the Truest Fan book. So
I absolutely love that. Absolutely love that. We've talked about, of course, non-financial aspects and all that. And let's face it, where we're at in this world today, we all need a little bit more kindness and love in the world right now. And it's just not all black and white, and it's not all about numbers. And, in my book, we talk about generosity, and whether it's not just money, but your time, treasures, and talents of being generous to other people, whether it's being kind or helping them out or whatever. So I think all too often, and, I'll dig on our industry here a little bit, is that there's some sectors of it that just kind of forget part of that. But we're all here to serve, and we're all human. So hopefully we can do that like you said, with a smile on our face, and understanding.
Right. And it's a way of building mojo. Because I think when you do that continuously, then you constantly see, hey, there's a way that I can make that person feel better about, what they're doing, because we run into lots of unhappy people all the time. And I think we're called to that's the whole idea behind being a Truest Fan, is we're supposed to be the kind of people that really root ourselves and others on, because that's what God has called us to do.
Right. Most definitely. 1,000%. Well, guys, you can check out his book. I encourage you to check out his book. You can go to truestfan.com. I'm sure you can find it. You can find it on Amazon, on those kind of places as well, correct?
Yes.
And links will be in the show notes. So please check it out. Rob, it's been a pleasure having you on. Everybody, here's to align in your future, and we will see you on the next episode. Y'all take care.
Thanks for listening to The Priority of Retirement with Shawn Maloney. If you enjoyed the show, check out our reviews on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. For more free resources to help with your retirement journey, go to retirewisepro.com or check the link in the show notes. You can also download a free copy of Shawn's book, The Priority of Retirement, or reach out to discuss working with him directly at retirewisepro.com. Thanks for listening.
Insurance products offered through the insurance business RetireWise LLC. RetireWise LLC is also an investment advisory practice that offers products and services through AE Wealth Management LLC, AEWM, a registered investment advisor. AEWM does not offer insurance products. The insurance products offered by RetireWise LLC are not subject to investment advisor requirements. Investing involves risk, including the potential loss of principal. Any references to protection, safety, or lifetime income generally refer to fixed insurance products, never securities or investments. Insurance guarantees are backed by the financial strength and claims-paying abilities of the insuring carrier. This podcast intended for informational purposes only. It is not intended to be used as the sole basis for financial decisions, nor should it be construed as advice designed to meet the particular needs of an individual's situation. RetireWise LLC is not permitted to offer, and no statement made during the show shall constitute tax or legal advice. Our firm is not affiliated with or endorsed by the U.S. government or any governmental agency. The information and opinions contained herein provided by third parties have been obtained from sources believed to be reliable, but accuracy and completeness cannot be guaranteed by RetireWise LLC. Guests of the Priority of Retirement are not affiliated with, nor do they endorse Shawn Maloney or RetireWise LLC.